Emma Chen clutched her portfolio bag tightly as she stood before the towering glass building that housed Meridian Creative Agency. The morning sun reflected off its pristine surface, making her squint as she took a deep breath. Today marked her first day as a junior graphic designer at one of Manhattan's most prestigious firms, a dream she had nurtured since her college days in small-town Oregon at 26. Emma possessed a quiet beauty that she often tried to hide behind oversized glasses and conservative clothing. Her long black hair was always pulled back in a neat bun, and she preferred muted colors that helped her blend into the background. Growing up as the daughter of immigrant parents who ran a small restaurant, she had learned early that hard work and humility were her greatest assets. The lobby of Meridian Creative buzzed with activity as well-dressed professionals hurried past, their heels clicking against the marble floor. Emma felt distinctly out of place in her simple navy dress and modest flats, but she straightened her shoulders and approached the reception desk. "Good morning.
I'm Emma Chen. Today is my first day," she said softly to the glamorous receptionist,
Who looked like she belonged in a fashion magazine. "Oh yes, floor 28. The elevators are just around the corner." The woman replied with a practiced smile before returning to her phone call. The fateful elevator ride Emma made her way to the elevator bank, joining a small crowd of people waiting. When the doors opened, she stepped inside and pressed the button for the 28th floor. The elevator was spacious, with mirrored walls that made her acutely aware of how she looked compared to the other passengers as they reached the 15th floor, where people entered, pushing Emma toward the back corner. She found herself standing next to a tall man in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit. He had dark hair with just a hint of silver at the temples and striking green eyes that seemed to take in everything around him. Despite his obvious wealth and status, there was something approachable about his demeanor. The elevator suddenly jerked to a stop between floors, and the lights flickered ominously. A collective groan arose from the passengers as the emergency intercom crackled to life. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a minor technical difficulty. Please remain calm while our maintenance team works to resolve the issue. We estimate about 15 to 20 minutes," came the voice from the speaker. Emma felt her heart rate increase as claustrophobia began to set in. She had always struggled with confined spaces, a fear that stemmed from being trapped in a closet during an earthquake as a child. Her breathing became shallow. She gripped her bag handle so tightly her knuckles turned white. The man beside her noticed her distress immediately. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly, his voice warm and concerned. "I'm fine," Emma whispered, though her trembling hands betrayed her words. "You don't look fine. Here, try this breathing technique," he said gently, demonstrating slow, deliberate breaths. In 4 for counts. Hold for 4, out for 4. It helps with anxiety. Emma followed his guidance, surprised by how calming his presence was. Yes, sir. Breathing steadied, she managed to look up at him properly for the first time. His eyes held genuine kindness, not the pity she expected. "Thank you," she said softly. "I don't handle small spaces very well." "Neither do I, actually," he admitted with a slight smile. "I just hide it better. I'm Sebastian, by the way, Emma," she replied, feeling slightly more at ease. "So, Emma, what brings you to this particular tower of corporate ambition?" Sebastian asked, clearly trying to keep her mind off their predicament. "It's my first day at Meridian Creative. I'm a graphic designer," she explained, then felt compelled to add, "well, junior graphic designer." "Ah, a creative soul trapped in a corporate cage," he said with a knowing smile. "But what kind of design work do you enjoy most?" Emma's eyes lit up as she began talking about her passion for visual storytelling and brand identity. Sebastian listened intently, asking thoughtful questions that revealed his genuine interest. She found herself opening up in a way that was unusual for her, sharing her dreams of creating designs that could make a real difference in people's lives. "You have a beautiful perspective on your work," Sebastian said sincerely. "Most people see design as just making things look pretty, but you understand its deeper power." Before Emma could respond, the elevator lurched back to life, and they began moving upward again. The spell of their intimate conversation was broken as other passengers straightened their ties and checked their phones, preparing to return to their busy lives. The revelation when the doors opened at the 28th floor. Emma stepped out with several other passengers. She was surprised when Sebastian followed her into the Meridian Creative lobby. "Are you visiting someone here?" she asked, confused. Sebastian's expression became slightly amused. "You could say that. I have a meeting with the senior partners. About a major project." Before Emma could process this information fully, a woman in her 40s approached them with obvious excitement. "Mr. Hayes, what an honor to have you here. I'm Sandra Wells, the creative director. We're so thrilled about the possibility of working with Hayes Technologies." Emma felt the blood drain from her face as the pieces fell into place. Sebastian Hayes. She had read about him in business magazines, the boy genius who had built a tech empire from his dorm room and was now worth billions. The man who had just spent 20 minutes calming her anxiety in a broken elevator was one of the most powerful people in the city. Sebastian noticed her shock and gave her a subtle, reassuring smile before turning his attention to Sandra. "Pleasure's mine, Ms. Wells. I'm looking forward to seeing what Meridian Creative can bring to our new campaign." "Absolutely. Let me show you to our conference room," Sandra said, gesturing toward the glass-walled meeting spaces. As they walked away, Sebastian glanced back at Emma one more time, his expression unreadable. Emma stood frozen in the lobby, trying to process what had just happened. The kind, attentive man who had helped her through her panic attack was Sebastian Hayes, a billionaire whose net worth probably exceeded the GDP of small countries. She felt foolish for not recognizing him. But then again, his photos in magazines never captured the warmth she had seen in his eyes. "First day jitters, you must be Emma." A cheerful voice interrupted her thoughts. A woman about her age, with short, blonde hair and a bright smile, approached her. "I'm Jessica Park, one of the senior designers. Sandra asked me to show you around and get you settled." Emma forced herself to focus on the present moment. "Nice to meet you, Jessica. I'm looking forward to working here." As Jessica led her through the office, pointing out various departments and introducing her to colleagues, Emma's mind kept wandering back to Sebastian. The way he had spoken to her, listened to her, treated her as an equal had it all been an act. Rich people were probably trained to be charming to everyone they met. "Earth to Emma," Jessica said with a laugh. "You seem a million miles away." "Sorry, just taking it all in," Emma replied. Trying to shake off her preoccupation, Jessica showed her to a small desk in the junior designers area. It was neat and functional, with a high-end computer and all the software she would need. "Sure. First assignment is already waiting for you," Jessica explained, handing her a folder. "It's actually pretty exciting. We're pitching for the Hayes Technologies account. Sebastian Hayes himself is here today to review our initial concepts." Emma's heart skipped a beat. Of course, her first project would somehow involve him. Universe seemed to have a sense of humor. She spent the morning reviewing the brief and studying Hayes Technologies, brand history. The company had started as a small software development firm but had grown into a massive corporation with interests in artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and space technology. Sebastian had built his empire on the principle that technology should improve lives, not just generate profits. An unexpected invitationer on lunchtime. Emma was deep in sketching preliminary concepts when someone cleared their throat behind her. She turned to find Sebastian standing there, looking slightly less formal than he had that morning. He had removed his suit jacket and loosened his tie, making him appear more approachable. "How's your first day going?" he asked casually. "Good. Thank you," Emma replied, quickly closing her sketchbook. "I hope your meeting went well." It did. "Meridian Creative has some talented people," he said, then paused. "I was wondering if you'd like to join me for lunch. There's a quiet cafe around the corner that serves excellent sandwiches." Emma stared at him in disbelief. "You want to have lunch with me? Is that so surprising?" Sebastian asked, tilting his head slightly. "You're Sebastian Hayes," she said, as if that explained everything. "And you're Emma Chen, the graphic designer with brilliant insights about visual storytelling," he replied matter-of-factly. "I enjoyed our conversation this morning, and I'd like to continue it if you're interested." Emma looked around the office, nervously noticing that several of her new colleagues were watching the interaction with barely concealed curiosity. "I don't think that's a good idea. People might get the wrong impression." Sebastian's expression softened. "Emma, I'm not asking you as Sebastian Hayes, billionaire CEO. I'm asking you as Sebastian, the guy who was just as nervous in that elevator as you were, who found your passion for design genuinely inspiring. Would you please have lunch with me? The sincerity in his voice made Emma's defenses crumble slightly. Against her better judgment, she found herself nodding. Okay, but somewhere really quiet. I know just the place, he said with a smile that made her heart flutter despite her attempts to remain rational. As they walked toward the elevators together,
Oh.
Emma caught sight of her reflection in the glass doors. For the first time in her life, she was about to have lunch with one of the most eligible bachelors in the world. And she looked exactly like what she was, a small-town girl completely out of her depth. But when she glanced at Sebastian, saw something in his expression that gave her hope. He wasn't looking at her like she was a project or a curiosity. He was looking at her like she mattered. Like her thoughts and opinions had value beyond her social status or bank account. Maybe, just maybe, this impossible situation might lead to something real. As the elevator doors closed around them for the second time that day, Emma allowed herself to believe that sometimes fairy tales could begin in the most ordinary places. Even between floors in a Manhattan office building, the lunch invitation was just the beginning of what would become the most transformative chapter of her life, though she had no way of knowing it yet. All she knew was that, for the first time since moving to New York, she felt like someone truly saw her for who she is. Was not just what she appeared to be. The small cafe Sebastian chose was tucked away on a quiet side street, far from the bustling corporate district. It had the cozy atmosphere of a neighborhood gem, with exposed brick walls, vintage photographs, and mismatched furniture that somehow worked perfectly together. Emma felt her shoulders relax as they settled into a corner booth away from the few other patrons. This place doesn't exactly scream billionaire hangout, Emma observed, looking around at the modest surroundings. Sebastian chuckled as he studied the handwritten menu. That's exactly why I love it. The owner, Mrs. Patterson, has no idea who I am, and she treats everyone like family. Sometimes you need places where you can just be a regular person. Their conversation flowed naturally as they shared stories about their backgrounds. Emma learned that Sebastian had grown up in a middle-class family in Chicago, where his father worked as an electrician and his mother taught elementary school. His success hadn't come overnight, but through years of 18-hour days and countless failures. The media likes to paint me as this overnight success story, Sebastian explained, stirring his coffee thoughtfully. They never mention the 2 years I lived on ramen noodles and slept on my office floor, or the 3 companies that failed before Hayes Technologies took off. Emma found herself opening up about her own struggles, the long nights waitressing to pay for art school, her parents' initial disappointment when she chose design over a more practical career, and her constant battle with self-doubt and a world that often seemed designed for more confident people. You know what I admire about you? Sebastian said suddenly, his green eyes intense with sincerity. You haven't let this city change your core values. Too many people come here and lose themselves trying to become someone they think they should be. Maybe I'm just too stubborn to change, Emma replied with a self-deprecating smile. Or maybe you're exactly who you're supposed to be, he said softly. The moment hung between them, charged with possibility, until Emma's phone buzzed with a text from Jessica asking where she was. Reality crashed back, reminding her that she was having lunch with a client, the most important client Meridian Creative had ever pursued. I should get back, Emma said reluctantly, checking the time. I've been gone for over an hour on my first day. Of course, Sebastian agreed, signaling for the check. But, Emma, I'd like to see you again. Outside of work if you're interested. Emma's heart raced. Sebastian, I don't think that's wise. You're you, and I, me. We live in completely different worlds. So did Romeo and Juliet, he said with a teasing smile. That didn't end well for them, Emma pointed out, though she couldn't help smiling back. Fair point. How about we start with something less dramatic? Maybe dinner this weekend? Against every rational thought in her head, Emma found herself nodding. Okay, but somewhere quiet like this. Sebastian's face lit up with genuine happiness. I know the perfect place. The first real date Saturday evening found Emma standing in front of her tiny apartment's mirror, trying on her 4th outfit of the evening. Her roommate and best friend Luna Martinez watched from the bed with barely contained amusement. Girl, You're going on a date with Sebastian Hayes, not meeting? The Pope, Luna said, tossing a pillow at her. Though honestly, I'm not sure which would be more intimidating. Emma groaned, pulling off yet another dress. This is insane, Luna. What am I doing? He probably dates supermodels and socialites. I'm going to make a complete fool of myself. What? It right there, Luna said firmly, standing up and placing her hands on Emma's shoulders. You are brilliant, beautiful, and kind. Any man would be lucky to spend time with you, billionaire or not. Now put on that blue dress, the one that makes your eyes pop, and go show him what he's been missing his whole life. The restaurant Sebastian had chosen was an intimate Italian place in Little Italy, family-owned and filled with the kind of authentic charm that couldn't be bought. He was waiting for her at a corner table, and when he saw her, his face broke into a smile that made her forget all her nervousness. Wow, you look beautiful, he said, as he stood to pull out her chair. Thank you, Emma replied, grateful that her voice sounded steadier than she felt. The evening unfolded like something from a dream. They talked about everything: books, travel, dreams, fears. Sebastian shared stories about his travels around the world, but also spoke passionately about his plans to use his wealth for environmental initiatives and education programs. Emma told him about her volunteer work teaching art to underprivileged children and her secret dream of opening her own design studio someday. Why is it a secret? Sebastian asked, leaning forward with interest. Because it feels too big, too impossible, Emma admitted. People like me don't usually get to chase dreams like that. People like you, ordinary people from ordinary backgrounds with ordinary bank accounts. Sebastian was quiet for a moment, then reached across the table and gently took her hand. Emma, there is absolutely nothing ordinary about you. You have a gift, a vision, and more heart than most people I know. Don't let anyone, including yourself, convince you that you're not capable of extraordinary things. His words stirred something deep inside her, a spark of possibility she had been afraid to acknowledge. When he walked her home that night, stopping outside her modest apartment building, the contrast between their worlds had never been more apparent. But when he kissed her softly under the streetlight, all those differences seemed to fade away. The growing storm over the next few weeks, Emma and Sebastian continued to see each other, always in quiet, out-of-the-way places where they could talk without interruption. Their connection deepened with each meeting. But so did Emma's awareness of the obstacles they faced. The first sign of trouble came when a gossip blogger spotted them leaving a small bookstore cafe in Brooklyn. The blurry photo and speculative article appeared online the next morning, describing Sebastian's mystery woman and wondering about her identity. At work, Emma noticed her colleagues whispering and casting curious glances her way. Jessica approached her desk with barely contained excitement. Emma, please tell me that's you in this photo with Sebastian Hayes, she said, showing her phone screen. Emma felt her face burn with embarrassment. I don't know what you're talking about. Come on, we're friends. You can tell me, Jessica pressed. Are you really dating him? Before Emma could respond, Sandra Wells appeared at her desk, her expression serious. Emma, could I see you in my office, please? The walk to Sandra's office felt like a death march. Emma's mind raced with possible consequences. Would she lose her job? Had she somehow violated company policy? Sit down, Emma, Sandra said, closing the door behind them. I need to ask you directly. Are you involved romantically with Sebastian Hayes? Emma hesitated, then decided honesty was her only option. We've been seeing each other, yes. Sandra sighed deeply. Emma, you're a talented designer with a bright future ahead of you. But this situation puts us all in a very difficult position. Hayes Technologies is potentially our biggest client ever. If this relationship affects his decision about working with us, or if it ends badly and creates complications... I understand, Emma said quietly. What do you want me to do? I'm not telling you how to live your personal life, Sandra said carefully. But I need you to think very seriously about the implications. For yourself, for your career, and for everyone else here who depends on landing this account. That evening, Emma met Sebastian at their usual cafe, but the conversation that had flowed so easily before now felt strained. She told him about the photo, the whispers at work, and Sandra's concerns. I can handle the gossip, Sebastian said firmly. If Meridian Creative has a problem with our relationship, I'll find another agency, don't you see? That's exactly the problem, Emma said, her voice rising slightly. You can snap your fingers and change everything, but the rest of us have to live with the consequences. My colleagues already think I'm getting special treatment. If you pull the account because of me, I'll never work in this industry again. Sebastian ran his hand through his hair, frustration evident in his posture. So what are you saying? That we should hide? Pretend this doesn't mean anything? I'm saying maybe we should be realistic about what this is, Emma replied, though the words felt like glass in her throat. We're from different worlds, Sebastian. It's better if we acknowledge that before things get more complicated. The hurt in Sebastian's eyes was immediate and profound. Is that really what you think? That this is just some game to me? Emma wanted to take back her words, to tell him that she was falling in love with him despite every logical reason not to. But fear held her tongue. Fear of getting hurt. Fear of not being enough. Fear of losing herself in his overwhelming world. I think we both need to be honest about the realities of the situation, she said instead, her voice barely above a whisper. Sebastian stared at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. If that's what you want, Emma, I won't pressure you into something you're not comfortable with. He stood to leave, then paused at their table. For what it's worth, I thought we had something real. Something worth fighting for. But maybe you're right, maybe I was naive to think that what we feel for each other could overcome everything else. As he walked away, Emma felt her heart breaking into 1,000 pieces. She had done the sensible thing, the logical thing. Why did it feel like the biggest mistake of her life? The empty days, the weeks following their separation passed in a blur of gray monotony for Emma. She threw herself into her work with renewed intensity, staying late at the office and producing designs that earned praise from Sandra and her colleagues. The Hayes Technologies account moved forward successfully, with Sebastian maintaining perfect professionalism during client meetings, treating Emma with the same polite courtesy he showed everyone else. But the spark that had made Emma feel truly alive for those brief, wonderful weeks was gone. Luna watched her friend with growing concern as Emma went through the motions of living without really experiencing joy in anything. You're being stubborn and stupid, Luna declared one evening, finding Emma on their apartment's fire escape, staring out at the city lights. That man is crazy about you, and you're crazy about him. Why are you doing this to yourself? Because it's better this way, Emma replied automatically, the words feeling hollow even to her own ears. We want different things. We come from different worlds, says who? Luna challenged, some imaginary rulebook about who's allowed to. Fall in love with whom? Emma. I've never seen you as happy as you were those few weeks. Don't throw that away because you're scared. Emma wanted to argue, but deep down she knew Luna was right. She had ended things with Sebastian not because they were incompatible, but because she was terrified of being vulnerable, of believing she could be worthy of that kind of love. Meanwhile, across the city in his penthouse apartment, Sebastian was having his own struggles. His assistant and longtime friend, James Wright, found him staring out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the same city lights Emma was contemplating. For a guy who built a billion-dollar empire by going after what he wanted. You're being remarkably passive about this situation, James observed. She made her choice, Sebastian replied, his voice lacking its usual confidence. I can't force her to want this life, to want me. Did she actually say she didn't want you? Or did she just say she was scared? Sebastian turned to look at his friend, something flickering in his expression. What's your point, James? My point is that sometimes the things worth having are worth fighting for. And sometimes people need to be shown that they're worth fighting for too. The media stormed the universe, it seemed, had other plans for keeping Sebastian and Emma apart. A week later, a prominent society magazine published a full spread about Sebastian's dating life, complete with photos of him with various socialites and models over the years. The article speculated about his type and included the now famous blurry photo of him with Emma, dismissing her as a brief dalliance with a nobody. Emma saw the magazine at a newsstand during her lunch break and felt physically sick reading. The cruel commentary about her appearance and background. The article painted her as a social climber, had briefly caught the attention of a billionaire before being discarded for more suitable company. When she returned to the office, could feel the stares and whispered conversations of her colleagues. Some looked at her with pity, others with barely concealed disdain. Sandra called her into her office again, this time with genuine concern rather than professional worry. "Emma, I'm sorry about this article. It's vicious and unfair," Sandra said gently. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Emma lied, though she felt anything. "But fine. It doesn't matter what they write." But it did matter. That evening, Emma's phone rang constantly with calls from reporters and bloggers wanting her side of the story. She finally turned it off and spent the night crying into Luna's shoulder, feeling more alone than she ever had in her life. Sebastian saw the article too, and his reaction was immediate and fierce. He called an emergency meeting with his publicist and legal team, demanding they pursue every possible avenue to have the article retracted and the publication held accountable for their character assassination of Emma. "Sir, with all due respect, responding to this will only bring more attention to the situation," his publicist advised. "The best strategy is usually to let these things die down naturally." "I don't care about strategy," Sebastian said coldly. "They attacked someone I care about, someone who doesn't deserve this treatment. Fix it." But the damage was already done. Emma felt exposed and humiliated, convinced that everyone she met had read the article and judged her accordingly. She began to withdraw even further, declining social invitations and spending her evenings alone in her apartment. The grand gesture Sebastian knew. He had to do something dramatic to cut through Emma's defenses and show her how he truly felt. But it couldn't be the typical billionaire gesture. Expensive gifts or lavish displays that would only reinforce her feelings about their different worlds. It had to be something that spoke to who Emma really was, what she truly valued. He remembered their conversations about her dream of opening her own design studio and her passion for teaching art to underprivileged children. Working with James and a team of lawyers, Sebastian quietly established the Emma Chen Foundation for Creative Arts Education, endowing it with enough money to fund art programs in schools across the city for decades to come. But that wasn't enough. He wanted to give Emma something even more meaningful, the chance to see herself through his eyes. To understand how extraordinary she truly was, Sebastian arranged for a gallery, featuring the work Emma had created during her time at Meridian Creative, including her original concepts for the Hayes Technologies campaign. He invited art critics, potential clients, and everyone who mattered in the design world. The exhibition was titled Seeing the Extraordinary, The Art of Emma Chen. Emma knew nothing about any of this until she received a formal invitation delivered to her apartment on a Saturday morning. Luna found her standing in their tiny kitchen, staring at the elegant card with tears streaming down her face. "He did this for me," Emma whispered. "All of this, for me. Are you going to go?" Luna asked gently. Emma looked at her reflection in their old mirror, seeing herself clearly for perhaps the first time. She had spent so much energy focusing on what she wasn't, not rich enough, not sophisticated enough, not beautiful enough, that she had forgotten to appreciate what she was. She was talented, kind, hardworking, and worthy of love. "Yes," she said finally. "I'm going to go." The gallery was packed when Emma arrived wearing the blue dress Luna had insisted she buy for the occasion. Her hands trembled as she walked through the space, seeing her work displayed with professional lighting and elegant frames. Critics and collectors moved through the room discussing her pieces with the kind of serious attention she had never imagined her work would receive. Sebastian stood near the back of the room, looking devastatingly handsome in a dark suit, but his eyes never left Emma's face as she moved through the gallery. When their eyes finally met across the crowded space, he made his way toward her, the crowd seeming to part around him. "You did this," Emma said when he reached her, her voice filled with wonder and emotion. "Why?" "Because I needed you to see." "What I see when I look at you," Sebastian replied softly. "You're not ordinary, Emma. You never were. You're extraordinary in every way that matters." Emma felt tears welling up in her eyes. "Sebastian, I'm so sorry. I was scared and I said terrible things. I made you think that what we had didn't matter to me, but it did." "It does. I know," he said, reaching up to gently touch her face. "I was scared too. Scared that I wasn't enough for you, that my world would overwhelm you or change you. But Emma, I don't want you to change. I want you exactly as you are." The noise of the gallery faded around them as they stood there, lost in each other's eyes. Emma realized that all her fears about their different backgrounds and social status had been nothing compared to the simple truth that they loved each other. "I love you," she said finally, the words feeling like freedom. "I love you, and I want to try. I want to see where this goes, even if it's scary." Sebastian's smile was radiant as he pulled her into his arms. "I love you too, Emma Chen, more than I ever thought possible." When he kissed her in front of the entire gallery, surrounded by her art and the people who had come to celebrate her talent, Emma felt like she was finally coming home to herself. The shy girl who had entered an elevator 3 months ago was still there, but she was no longer afraid of being seen, of being loved, of believing in her own worth. 6 months later, Emma stood in the spacious studio that Sebastian had helped her lease in a converted warehouse in Brooklyn. Sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating canvases and design materials scattered around the room. The Emma Chen Foundation had already funded art programs in 12 schools, and her own design studio was booking clients faster than she could handle them. Luna burst through the door carrying coffee and pastries, her excitement palpable. "Did you see the Times review of your gallery show? They called you a fresh voice with timeless sensibility and said your work has the rare quality of speaking to both heart and mind." Emma smiled, looking down at the engagement ring on her finger, a simple, elegant design that Sebastian had custom-made by a local artisan. "I still can't believe any of this is real." "Believe it because it is," Sebastian said, appearing in the doorway with his own coffee. He had started spending more time in Brooklyn, drawn by the creative energy of the neighborhood and Emma's infectious passion for her work. That evening, they walked through Prospect Park as the sun set over the city. Emma marveled at how different her life had become, not because she had changed her essential self, but because she had finally learned to value who she had always been. "Do you ever regret it?" Emma asked as they sat on a bench overlooking the lake. "Falling for the shy girl in the elevator instead of someone who already fit into your world." Sebastian turned to face her, his green eyes serious and full of love. "Emma, you didn't just fit into my world. You made it better. You made me better. I wouldn't change a single thing about how we met or who you are." As they sat there together, watching the lights of Manhattan twinkle in the distance, Emma reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. Chance encounter between floors continued through misunderstandings and fears, and culminated in a love that had transformed both of their lives. The shy girl was still there, would always be part of who Emma was. But she was no longer afraid of elevators, or strangers, or the possibility that she might be worthy of extraordinary love. Sometimes the most beautiful stories began in the most ordinary places, between ordinary people who dared to see the extraordinary in each other, and sometimes, just sometimes, love really could conquer all.